We need to talk about this. Talk about this.
All right, now, here's your host of the Georgio Says podcast. It's Georgio.
We need to talk about this.
Welcome to an all-new episode of Georgio Says the podcast. Today is the last day of September. It's Tuesday, September 30th. We have an all-new episode of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City airing tonight. We have episode 3. And, you know, this episode is going to be a combination, really. I want to talk the first part of this podcast about some hypocrisy that I find to be happening currently on Salt Lake City. But later in the episode, I want to attach the conversation that James and I had recently around the girls' trips in Temecula and in Beverly Hills. So I wanted to stitch that in this episode because it's not really a recap. It's more of a conversation around different elements that happened over those trips. But I figured I would combine the two. So that is what this episode's really going to be. So let's go ahead and jump right on in, because with everything that is happening with Salt Lake City currently, we have Lisa Barlow, who, in my opinion, is an easy grab for many reasons, I think, because a lot of things that I think people fail to realize is Lisa Barlow, like Kyle Richards, was very instrumental on getting this show on our TV screens, essentially. So Lisa Barlow was the one that really kind of gathered the idea around getting this group of women together and getting a pilot and like trying to sell it off. And so this is what we have, right? So imagine that being what your like intro into this whole Housewives world is. So of course, she is going to be an easy target. And essentially, in my opinion, she is the quintessential housewife. That's exactly the type of housewife producers want, right? Because she hits all those boxes. She says the most funniest, outlandish things. She has her own little quirks. And I think over time, it goes from being funny, cute to drawing an audience that almost despises it. So it's like, we loved this about her. It was funny. It was entertaining. But now we don't like you anymore. Oh, and by the way, you have 5 civil lawsuits against Vita and whatever. So let's discuss that, right? Fine. And I'm not saying that Lisa Barlow is void of having to talk about things that are going on in her life. If there are civil lawsuits, then she should absolutely be honest and transparent about that, because civil lawsuits are easy to look up, generally speaking. But in the first 2 episodes, we see Bronwyn is the one that's taking the charge here on coming after Lisa about what it said in the Salt Lake Tribune. And listen, civil lawsuits, I will say this till I can't speak anymore. Civil lawsuits are just that. Civil. And when you have as many businesses as the Barlows have, because when you actually dig in, and I would hope that you guys out there that have formed these strict opinions around the situation, I hope you did your digging. So if you did and you still came back to the table with that opinion, then that's your opinion to have. I'm not here to sway anyone to become a Barlow fan that is not a Barlow fan currently. What I'm trying to do is level the playing field, because, as I mentioned, Bronwyn has been going after Lisa the first 2 episodes over these civil lawsuits. But what's coming up for Bronwyn in the season, in my opinion, is like way worse, okay? Because this came up in April 1st, actually. I made a video on TikTok, and I may repost it because I think at the time, it was April 1st. Everyone thought it was an April Fool's joke. I myself thought it was kind of maybe it was like an April Fool's kind of spin, like someone was trying to make a joke out of something. But then when I did the digging and saw like what the context around these charges kind of mean, I was like, oh, well, this is not some little, this isn't like she didn't pay her taxes in 2007, and it was like a few $1,000s, which I'm not saying that's great, but you'd be surprised how many people have liens from taxes in various amounts, okay, from very small to very large. But nonetheless, these were criminal charges allegedly attached to Bronwyn, okay? Now, this is where it gets very convenient, in my opinion. So we know that this populated in the media when the ladies were, picking up cameras and starting to film and things were happening and grooving and going into the season. We all kind of speculated if this is true, it'll be brought up, okay? Well, it seems like it is. I just recently saw an article snippet from Bustle. Shout out to Bravo Snarkside. They posted this clip of the article where Bronwyn is talking about how, it's unfair that the ladies bring this up because essentially the case is sealed. Okay, so she can't talk about the details of that case and the alleged charges around it, like at all. So when the ladies go and they try to bring it up and they speculate and that's great for the storyline of Bronwyn. Like, ooh, like who's Bronwyn? Who's really the liar? Like it's giving great storyline for speculation purposes. I appreciate that. I do. But paired up with how Bronwyn is kind of coming at Lisa about civil lawsuits, and I hate to make it sound like civil lawsuits are no biggie, but when you look at it from the scheme of any business, and take Lisa out of this, you can go on the internet right now and there's a plethora of business people that have that same mentality where this is par for the course. If you grow in your business to a scaled amount where it is very much a thing, there will be more eyes on it. There will be more people who want to leverage that for anything. Settlement. They remembered you owed them $20 from a bar tab back in 2005, and now they see you on TV and you have these businesses. So they're like, yeah. So my point is, anybody can allege anything in a civil lawsuit. I can right now go down the street to the courthouse and allege whatever I want about whomever I want, get it sent to them, and then actually take it forward. Okay, I can do that even if there's no merit, even if there's no truth to it. I can play my dice any way I want in that situation. So when you have the case sealed, so either the judge decided for whatever reason we're going to seal this case for privacy, or it's a number of things. What it doesn't prove, though, because I see some people saying like, oh, well, clearly if it's sealed, then there's something wrong. Not necessarily. I dug into this a little bit. That doesn't mean that she's guilty or innocent of these alleged charges. It actually means a plethora of things could have happened to cause the case to be sealed. Like one of them, like I said, could be privacy, but other things could include it was expunged. So perhaps there wasn't enough to hold her to that. So they expunged it, which means it would not be part of the case index. So when you go and look up the case number again, it does not show up, which I have validated before I started recording this podcast. Now, it also could mean that she took a plea deal. Like I said, it doesn't prove anything, and we will never know because you're not allowed to discuss it. So, is it convenient that Bronwyn can just go ahead and full charge, go up against Lisa about civil lawsuits, knowing that there's no way that they can do anything about what this alleged criminal case was that is sealed because it's sealed and she can't even discuss it? I think that's pretty convenient. But does it leave like a good taste in my mouth? Like, sure, if everyone wants to go with Bronwyn cleared Lisa in round one, as everyone's calling it, sure, but that doesn't mean anything in the scheme of things. If you're going to go after someone so harshly around civil lawsuits, but you have this alleged criminal case that has been sealed, you guys don't see the big hypocrisy there? I mean, it's wild. You don't have to like Lisa, but you can still separately say that's not an equal playing field for someone to bring that up. Now, if some other cast member on this show that has a clean past would like to have brought this up because they feel valid in doing so, because they feel like maybe their businesses don't fall into these categories, then I'd be open to hearing that dialogue. But that's not the case. You want me to take the charge with Bronwyn against Lisa's civil lawsuits, which all of them seemingly have been dismissed from what I can see? I don't know, guys. Like, it's weird. It's weird. I see this in across other franchises too, but particularly this one, it really feels like we're just hating Lisa to hate her. We're not giving her any grace anywhere. And it's too cutthroat. It's too extreme for me. I don't like that viewpoint. I don't like the team thing. And it just bothers me. Like, yeah, in certain situations, yeah, we all do that. Oh, I'm Team Lisa on this one. Yeah, totally. But when you go full throttle on hating someone, that's where I'm like, I'm not there for that. My whole situation here at Georgio Says, okay, 7-Eleven Media, who owns Georgio Says, by the way, this is not a place to troll people. If you've been following me from the beginning, you know I want to get to the bottom of whatever it is. If it's a rage bait headline, I bring you as many of the facts to give you the full context. If it's a blatant lie, I bring a lot of things to the table to prove why this is a lie. But it's not trolling. Trolling is going after someone just for the sake of it because I don't like them. There's no real merit. There wasn't a point of reason for me to go digging, right? If there's legitimate questions, right? Well, I'm happy to look into it. That is why I believe I have the reputation I have. I don't fall into these categories of, leaking things. So it's funny to me, honestly, like when everyone says, oh, Lisa Barlow's paying you, or you're on Tamra's, payroll, or you're on this person's payroll. I mean, whatever franchise is on that I'm not directly hating the same person everyone hates just for the simple fact of hating them, I'm on their payroll. It's like, no, sweetheart, I'm on my own payroll. This is a business. This is my job. I'm grateful for it. I love it. Hence why it is now my job full time. It wasn't always my job full time. But if I'm going to be here, I'm going to keep it as real as I can with you guys. I'm not going to lie. That's why I'm saying, like, so many people are going to run, with the fact that, oh, well, Bronwyn's case was sealed, so she must be guilty. No, that doesn't mean that. That does not mean that. It also doesn't mean that she was innocent either. So it's just, for me, it does kind of irritate me sometimes when I see that there's just no middle ground. No one's willing to see anything else because they're so dead set on just, it's just extremism, in my opinion. And I don't know, it feels like that extremism mentality is just everywhere I turn lately, and it's kind of flowing into the shows and the way that viewers look at some of these cast members, and then we start to forget that these people are on a reality show and things are edited, sliced and diced for storylines and whatever. But the facts remain the facts. You can go look up these civil lawsuits. You can look into them yourself. Okay. I believe actually the Bravo docket, I don't know exactly when, but at some point they did cover these lawsuits in their podcast episode. So it is out there. You can go look it up. The convenience factor for me is that Bronwyn knows that nobody can, no one's going to be able to know what happened with her situation, the alleged criminal situation that, is now sealed. So I'm not buying it. I don't know how this is going to play out on the show. We do have a new episode tonight, so I don't know when this comes into play, but I do believe it is going to be brought up. I just don't know how they're going to spin it. Because again, I don't know how much of a storyline that can be unless we're just going to speculate, because that's all we can do. But at any rate, we're going to now, but before I leave you, I just want to say, I do apologize. I missed you guys on Friday and yesterday on the podcast. Friday, so Jeff and I have a business together that, I have talked about a few times on here. And so we had run into a emergency situation on Friday that needed attention. And so that is why Friday I did not put out an episode. Second to that, for yesterday, I also was not able to put out an episode because unfortunately I had to go to a funeral service for a family member that passed away recently. So that was why I just wanted to put that out there, because I was going to address it at the beginning, but I just went right into it. So I just wanted to make that point before I stitch in my conversation with James Lee. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, you'll be able to tune in to my conversation with James Lee around the Temecula Beverly Hills trips and all that fun stuff.
This episode of the Georgio Says podcast is brought to you by Golly Nutrition, the inventive, people-focused nutrition company making your daily supplements simple and delicious. Every Golly product is crafted with high-quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will love. At the heart of Golly is purpose. Through the Golly for Good initiative, they support our planet and our communities, partnering with Vitamin Angels and Eden Reforestation Projects. Visit golly.com today and use the code The Georgio Says at checkout for a special discount just for our listeners. That's Golly Nutrition. Simple, delicious, and good for the world. Now back to the episode.
All right, guys, we are back. I told you guys I was going to be recording with James. We were picking up our conversation from last time. I think it's been about 2 weeks now. We're here to talk about what's been happening ever since that conversation. And more importantly, we want to kind of start to wrap things up. It seems like the season's slowly coming to an end. We're on the tail end. We know that the reunion is going to be filmed next month. But right now, we're seeing Tamra. Haha, we're talking about Tamra. I know you guys love that. Tamra is what I would say is on an apology tour. Even though it doesn't feel like one, it feels like she's trying to just wrap up these loose ends with some of the folks that she's had, you know, some major conflict with, like Jen and Gretchen, although I don't know if they really made up, but they made up like in the moment. So it felt like they were moving on. So now we just have Shannon, and Tamara's planned this trip to Temecula. And it seems like we kind of have like a split group outing situation. We have Heather, Emily, and Gina. They're off in Beverly Hills, and then Gretchen, sorry. Gretchen, Emily, and Heather are in Beverly Hills. Gina, Jen, Shannon, and Tamra are in Temecula. And I think they're both really interesting trips because of what was going on. But I want to focus more on Tamra and her journey to try to like make resolve and what that says just about her overall, I guess, professionalism, you know, with working with this group of women and being a housewife as long as she has. She still comes back to try to make resolution. So that always, to me, signals like she knows this is the way of the game. You can't leave conflict wounds open for too long. What are your thoughts on her planning this trip to Temecula and all that?
Well, you know, I love being a producer on that. I love these little split trips. I think they're fun. I think it's a little bit more intimate when they're split up like that, even if it's not that far away, as you can tell. Heather's was here in LA, but like last year when they went to Big Bear versus La Quinta, like I mean, I think it's almost like last year when they were in Big Bear, it was Tamara versus Jen at the moment, but then they started to bond, and it worked for a little bit until, of course, things got a little more explosive toward the end of that season. But I love them. I think they're fun. I think we get to see some more intimate conversations going on. I think this one in particular, since this is Tamara's little trip to Temecula. Sometimes you joke and say Temecula, but Temecula.
I was wondering if you said it a different way, if it's really just Temecula.
No, it's Temecula.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And in Temecula, by the way, that place is gorgeous.
It looked amazing.
Caro, so many props to them. Sometimes now I'm like, oh, I wish the whole cast was able to go there, because that would have been a great trip as well, like just a gathering of all of them. But anyway, we're down to split trips, and you know, this is a chance, I guess, to see how Tamara gets with Shannon. You know, she did offer the invite, and Shannon seemed very hesitant. But you know, eventually Shannon said, "You know what? I'm gonna go." So it was nice to see that, and it was nice to see just for that moment for a minute that okay, this could be something. But then, of course, toward the end, it just exploded. But that's what I have to say about these little mini trips. So I guess to answer your question on Temecula, what is one of the things that came up from you?
Well, for me, it was more around, it felt like Tamra really was trying to wrap up these loose ends because I think, and I'm just speaking as a housewife, like not watching the show necessarily, but more in the shoes of a Tamra, where it's okay, we're getting to that point in the filming schedule where if I don't start to try to build some resolve here, then our stories are going to be dead in the water. So
Right.
I know if I were in that position, I would be trying to extend olive branches, not to say they're inauthentic ones, but for the sake of moving on for the entirety of the group, really, because whenever there's this long pattern of conflict, it kind of keeps the group divided in some facet. So I felt like it was her, not her last reach, but like one long reach to show Shannon, like, hey, we can still be friends, like we can still have a good time, like, you know. And I felt like Shannon throughout that trip was kind of battling some PTSD in the sense of like she wanted to get back in and have fun. There was some moments where I caught that she was like laughing or she was about to play and then she would catch herself and be like, let you know. So, I just wish there would have maybe been maybe another day in Temecula would have maybe broken it. I don't know. But I liked it. I like the direction that things are going so far. It seems like there's not too much chaos on
Yeah.
either side.
Yeah.
Uh, but then, okay. So I'm gonna have to. I'm absolutely gonna bring this up. We need to jump over to Beverly Hills because Heather obviously is hosting Emily and Gretchen, and they go out to Crustacean. They're on their way. They're walking,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden, it's like, here comes Shane. Shout out to Shane. They are a real paparazzi photographer because a lot of you guys were asking if it was a pay for play. No, Shane is a real photographer, but nonetheless, Shane comes out of blue and is like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that you didn't call anybody for the. You didn't do it. Whatever they said you did, you didn't do it, and I would know." And in this moment, Heather is glowing like the sun. She's basking. She's got two witnesses here. I am so sure Shane does not know Heather because they shook hands and she asked, "What's your name?"
Right, right.
Uh, but she's also an actress. I don't know. It feels like it's still bugging her.
I don't know.
I just don't know what to think of
Paparazzi
this. It keeps coming up, is what I'm saying. And it's coming
story.
up through her.
It's
Like,
it's almost like a gag now. Like it's a gag. Like I don't know. I feel look, whatever Heather did or didn't, who know? I don't even know. Lord, I don't think people really care anymore. But sometimes we would always joke because paparazzi always need a call or a heads up to me. Or maybe Shane was already in Beverly Hills. I don't know because Beverly Hills is a spot where they always hang out.
yeah, yeah.
Paparazzi does do that for sure. Um, but in general, I would say paparazzi, especially at events or things, they get a call to be like, "Hey, we're doing this." Like PRs and publicists probably call just to say, "Hey, my celebrity or is going to be there." That's what PR people do.
Well,
That's
yeah, it's her
that's
job.
so whether it was done by Heather's camp, to call and say, "Oh my God, they're filming in this spot, you should be there." Who knows? But who cares? It's like it's a silly gag now. Like, okay, next. What, I mean, I don't
I
know.
just felt like nobody there, like Emily and Gretchen were like, okay, okay. Like, I don't,
But I think
great.
they're feeling the same thing. It's like, okay, really? Like, how is this even possible? Like, um, but I mean, I'm not going to doubt that paparazzi is always in Beverly Hills because they
Yes, they are. Especially, I mean, listen, I don't know if they hang out right in front of Louis Vuitton on Rodeo,
are.
but
Right.
hey, maybe they were walking from somewhere else and they were like, oh my God, Heather Dubrow again. Let
Yeah.
me tell other friends that
Right.
she did not
Right.
call us.
I mean, behind as producer scenes, we did. get a text from another producer going, "Oh my God, there is a paparazzi person here." Like it's so weird. Like they were shocked on their end. So it's the same thing. Like
Yeah.
that's so coincidental. Like how, but they were
No,
there.
I believe like also that it worked out in her favor. I mean, for her, like she probably was like, yes,
Yeah,
the
for sure.
Um, I want to talk about crustacean. Let's talk. I want to dive a little bit into that conversation that came up when we start to talk about Heather telling, Gretchen and Emily about how Tamra can be scary at moments because she had shared with Tamra at a lunch with Jen that when she was growing up, her dad would have, these public outbursts that frankly were traumatizing as a child to watch or to be embarrassed or not know if that was going to continue to be a thing. So she was trying to relay that to Tamra to say basically, like, that triggers me when you do that in the group. Like when you have these types of outbursts, it brings me back to that space. But the one thing I found that was really interesting is it almost felt like Heather was tying a vulnerable moment, which she doesn't always share, to be quite frank. It's more about the looks and the appearances of things. But when she starts to dive more into this like vulnerable space about how she grew up and her dad being the way he was, it was weird that she signaled or kind of brought Tamra and stitched that into the box with it, because it means, or at least to me, it felt like she was distancing herself a little bit by saying that, because it's like, I just want to let you guys know that I'm not okay with that behavior. And then those isolated incidents, I have said that this is not okay. It is scary because of my dad doing that when I was younger in public spaces. But then when I listen or when I look at it again, it's like, well, if we're looking at it in the lens of, okay, Heather, I understand that. But then is that happening when the show's not being filmed? Like, is Tamra out at restaurants throwing glass and screaming at the top of her lungs for no reason? I haven't seen it. I haven't heard it. So for me, that correlation only works when it's something that is happening consistently in a like a very similar parallel way. I think anything that's on a TV show where there's cameras involved, there is I believe, a heightened sense of reality in the moment. And I don't believe everyone reacts the same way on camera as they would necessarily react in real life. I think there's a different uh, avenue that you're standing on when you're doing these types of conversations or when you are confronting something that is triggering to confront. I don't know. It just felt weird. It's feeling a little weird in the moment for me when I'm watching that with Heather, because I'm like, wait, what are you doing here?
No, I think, again, these ladies are pitted against uh, conversations that they might not be ready for. And I think Tamara's behavior is what could happens when she's pitted against something. And it's like, how do I fix it? I'm sorry, I'm
Mhm.
getting like how do I fix it? And because they don't have time to think, or so their reactions are real. So if even if the cameras are away, think about Tamara, whatever, who she's probably hanging out with. She has a little bit more able to, she's more calm and probably relaxed compared to people watching her and things. So I think those are natural reactions. And I feel like Heather, this is what I truly love about Heather, is the vulnerability and her little personal stories. When she does go there, it shows a different side of her that a lot of people want to know. Yes, we do see the lavish and the money and all this, but not just for that. I think when Heather shows her vulnerable side and the personal touch of herself, it's genuine, and I feel like a lot of people would love that more if they saw more of that from her.
I agree. I actually enjoy when she's being vulnerable, Heather, because it makes her most relatable, I think. I think we've moved on from the fact that yes, she has a ton of money. Like we don't But I think in that moment, it did kind of feel like, oh, was it? Couldn't you just talked about your dad? Like, couldn't you have just said yes? But really, that's a me thing. And the thing is, when I was growing, like, I feel like the way she stitched it together was as if like my dad had like freaking outbursts that like freaked my mom and myself out. And then here comes Tamra, who has outbursts on camera, but not very frequently towards Heather. They're just around Heather.
Right, right. But I think again, it's look, Heather's dad wasn't on camera having outbursts. So
No.
you know what I'm saying? So the correlation of Heather having her outbursts probably gives Heather PTSD or whatever. So I think just her explaining that, look, could she have gone more into depth? I think if the other ladies asked more questions to her about it, that would have allowed Heather maybe to open up a little bit more because they were having a great evening, you know, together. So I feel like if they if Emily or Gretchen were able to dig and go, oh, let's ask her a little bit more about this, I think it would have been interesting how that would have flown into for the rest of the evening, because then, you know, it could have been a lot of tears than laughter. But, you know, it didn't go that way. But if I wish now that we're talking about it, like if Emily and Gretchen were to ask her a little bit more about that, you know, kind of give the little vulnerability and pressure on Heather to talk about it more, would have been very interesting for sure. Um, but again, with Tamara, I think um, it's just in that moment for her, and
Yes.
it just happens. And I think off camera, like you said, does it happen? Maybe we haven't, like you said, haven't really seen it, but I think it's different atmosphere in terms of who she's probably hanging with, or, you know, and things like that, that she has time to discuss an issue if she has one with a friend at that moment, you know, like
Well,
it's
and I think also, you know, as viewers, we forget, like what I think you're saying at least, is there's a schedule to, so on top of being at a scheduled filming situation, if you are one of the people that's being thrown a pot of like sauce, you've
yeah,
got you've got the group that you're discussing in front of, which is already a like already
yeah,
putting you in the spot. But then you've got a bunch of people standing around with like cameras, and everyone just they're waiting for your response. And if you don't say the right things and you miss your moment, that's all happening in real time. So I do think I agree. I think those are in the moment of filming. I don't think if she's having a conflict with a friend off camera that she would have that same reaction, because I don't think the pressures in the moment are the same.
in that moment. But however, we don't know. Maybe,
No.
I mean, we don't know. So
Yeah, maybe she's breaking dishes in that house every night. We don't know.
who knows, you know, maybe. But if we walked in the next day and saw broken dishes, we're definitely going to film it and ask what happened, you know? So
Oh,
no, but
not
that's
coming to my house. No.
no, but that's what I think from that, from your question on that for sure.
I well, things take a wild left turn with the ladies, because then they go to the Abbey, which shout out to the Abbey. Um, and they have a grand old time with the gays, you know, dancing, having champs, just having a girls' night, a mom's night out. And then we get in this suburban on the way back to Heather's, and here comes the like Tamra in the studio dropping some beats. Now, for the record, guys, I know this may sound like I'm beating a dead horse because we've discussed this thoroughly, but in the episode, it felt like, well, two things. It felt like we got Gretchen naked wasted a little bit, because we know that if we get her naked wasted, she is fun. I will say, I would probably hang out with Gretchen post like a few glasses of champagne. I don't know what she'd be like outside of that, but she looks like a really fun time, and I think like amazing. But then she starts blurbing off all this other stuff that is alleged around this redacted name, who we obviously know is Jeff Timmons. But that story is so old. And I don't think were you around when it originally came up on the show? No, right? Because I
But
think
it's
it
in
was
the
like in 2016 or 2017. I think it came out.
yeah, it was a little I wasn't around on that time. But also when I started, Gretchen, I believe, just left this.
Okay.
So I came in on after that. But also,
So
yeah. But it was in the it's in the tab it's in the
it's there was an article about it, is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is this whole thing got debunked back then because, and I'm not confirmed on this. This is what you guys are saying. I don't remember this far back, but allegedly it was Vicky at the time that was behind putting that story out. Nonetheless, that story was debunked. Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees even threatened legal action at the time if anyone even tried to insinuate, because there was a producer of the studio at the time. I don't know if they still are, the owner that was behind the story as well, and said that they had the actual audio that in this episode we hear Slade say he has heard. So I guess I'm looking at this like, well, then how do you expect this to play off now that you've said this? Because I'm like Emily in the moment. Like, then send it. Because anybody can say that. And this is so old that who's banking on remembering all the details from a no hate campaign song like from the mid 2010s? So that was odd. Clearly, the name was redacted for a reason, because I do believe they remember Jeff Timmons at that time being like, don't even try it. So they left his name out. So, you know, it's an odd thing that Slade keeps bringing things up via Gretchen, and he's now got an interview. It's like, I don't know. The whole thing just seems very weird. And I just don't know where they're supposed to fit in with the group, because I don't see how it blends outside of like a Jen and Ryan. So that's where I struggle. It's like, well, are you guys just trying to take Tamara out in hopes that you'll take the spot and then you'll blend in better? Or I don't know. It's so perplexing to me, the reason why you'd bring something up that was already discussed.
yeah, I don't know. I think it was in the moment when they were talking about music. I think that's what was in Gretchen's head, maybe, to just mention something. And then, of course, Emily is not going to let that go. So I don't know what they end up doing with that. So, but as you can see, it's like you said, they blur the person's name out, and um, you know, because it probably doesn't really mean that much, maybe. And all parties have moved on. So it's almost like who's bringing it up is, you know, I don't even know where to go with that, because it just doesn't.
Because it's dead in the water is the problem too. It's not a new story. It's not something that happened recently. So it's like, okay, you're just bringing this up to, I guess, embarrass her or like remind everyone of the story. I don't know. But even in the moment, Heather, although she was like, yeah, I don't care about that part of it, I was expecting a little bit more of a like, wow, that's kind of gross, Gretchen. Like, what are y'all doing? Why would you bring that up? But and it could have been cut out, to be fair. I don't know. But the whole thing was just odd to me. So now here's where we sit. I feel like at this stage, Tamara and Jen are still okay. They're not like best friends, but they seem to be able to communicate. They can go on a trip together. There was a bit of a back and forth where Gina was called out when they were all sitting and having a moment where Tamara brought up to Shannon, well, Gina was also worried about your drinking. And then Gina was like, well, I brought that up really because of what you did. Do you feel like this season Gina is kind of finding her voice within the group more? It feels like she's being more, I don't know if it's not that she's never been authentic. It feels more like she's being more firm and not afraid to call something out. It feels like she's quicker with that piece of it. Do you feel like she's kind of gotten a little bit more
Yeah.
comfortable in her skin within the group on her own?
Yes. I think
Did,
she's moved so much in her life. She's been through it all. Like she's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. this is what I'm going to say, and this is how I feel. And that's how it should be, for sure. And I mean, kudos to Gina. She's just sticking up for herself.
Yeah.
She is doing what she should be doing, So, I mean, there's not much to say about that except that's what makes you a great person on this show is you're sticking up and this is how I say and this is what I mean and I'm holding myself accountable if I'm wrong. But, kudos to Gina. Great. She's grown she's grown a lot from the show too. And
No,
I think
yeah, for sure.
we've all seen that. So, we she's been through a lot. So, and I think what recently just happened, especially with Matt, it's like life is short. So, or it can be short. So, not, waiting for another day to talk about something, get
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally could feel it from her. Just like, it's like almost like, no, I'm going to say it like, because we're here and that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, I almost lost my ex-husband and shit. Like, I'm going to fucking tell you to your face. Like, what's up? Um, I know people are like not feeling it because obviously we're missing Katie in the show, but I will say that these are still important storylines happening outside of that. And I'm anticipating where this Tamra Shannon situation goes because this really is, I don't know, it hurts a little bit because they really have been friends for so long. So it's hard when you see Tamra trying and Shannon is still very resistant, So it's like, okay, what can we do here, Shans? Like, can we like I don't even know. I don't even think Shannon even knows what it would take at that given time. But this conversation where everyone's just being vulnerable about their dads this episode. Shannon talks about her dad and growing up and having this moment where, which I felt for her because that would suck. But I guess her mom was going to divorce their dad and the processor was supposed to have met the dad that Friday, didn't make it to him by 5 p.m. So they had the whole weekend to like pretend like that wasn't happening and then had to carry on. So that was a very painful moment. But then we have this instance of, Tamra chiming in and being like, oh, but didn't you say that your dad was an alcoholic growing up? And then instantly Shannon's like, and then flips out and shuts down anything Tamra's saying. And I was like, whoa. Well, I thought that was known already. I didn't realize that was something that wasn't known because I thought that was kind of touched on last season with Shannon and everything that she dealt with. But I didn't feel like Tamara was coming at it from like she was trying to antagonize Shannon in the moment. It felt more like she was trying to show or remind her, remember we were friends, we've talked about this. Like, didn't you say like this also happened? But Shannon didn't read it that way. And then it just continued to go downhill. And then Tamara was just like, I give up. Because it's like anything I say, you're just going to be like, I can't believe you said that. And then Jen goes to just confirm, like, you weren't being a bitch when you did that, right? You were just being. She was like, yeah, but it's like, I don't know what else you want me to do. Right. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, then this isn't going anywhere. But we still have, the season's not over. It's just at this point, it's like, it feels like Tamara's chipped away at a lot. And it's just this one final boss of the game that she's got to get. But Shannon is like.
The one that doesn't fit, you find this extra piece and you're like,
oh, you're talking about puzzles. I'm talking about like video games. Like, I just picture Shannon's the last boss of the game and she's just throwing lemons at Tamara every time Tamara tries to like resolve. Listen, I get it too. Shannon's hurt. She's been through her own stuff. She's coming out of her own, hole, and whatnot. So she's also human and is allowed to feel what she wants to feel. I just feel like for the sake of the show, though, we can't have everybody just splitting off and like, I don't know.
I mean, it's Tamara and Shannon. It's almost like they're friends and then not friends, friends and then not friends, but they know how to work things out.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we'll see, I guess, throughout what happens, especially for the next episode where it all goes, and then of course when the trip starts, I guess we'll see whether this friendship can mend or not, or if it's something that we have to wait till the reunion to see. Um, but those two just know boundaries and things when they push each other to the limits. And sometimes it's like, okay, are you being serious or are you not being like, I think that's what's happening, where it's like they've been through so much together that they just can't figure out. They're trying to process like, okay, is this person being nice to me or are they being mean to me? And I think whichever one sets in their head is the way they're responding right away. So probably in Shannon's head, she's like, okay, she's being mean to me. Let me go
Yeah.
this. You know what I'm saying? Because there's been so much of that with them
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
it's like a roll of a dice in your head. Like, okay, let me interpret this. Okay, this is mean, lash. Or let me interpret this. This is nice. Okay, all right, I see what you're saying. Like, so.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I totally understand. Again, they go through a lot. This has been a long, it's a long season for them going through what's been already happening. So it's these ladies. But again, it's Shannon and Tamara trying to figure their friendship out. That's all.
Totally. And I just also wonder, like, when we do get to Amsterdam, like what everyone's going to be up to at that point, because I feel like we're still far away from the end. I feel like we're not even, it's feeling
Uh,
like a very long season, no? I feel
no,
like
we're at the normal. We're at the normal. I think this is probably
this is
episode.
11 coming up
No,
or
thir
12. Oh, is it 13?
13. I think we're at
Oh, maybe you're right. Because I was thinking, I was like, why does it still feel like we're at the mid-season mark? And it feels like so much has happened.
tech, tech, technically a little like the episode before or two is mid-season. So I mean we're getting there. I think yeah, there's a few more things before the trip for sure.
Well, I know this episode is going to be explosive from the preview, just based off, Tamra acting like Heather's dad again. But I don't know. This is just all setting things up for a very interesting season 20, because now everyone's talking about what season 20 needs to look like. It's a historical season. Let's bring everyone back, which obviously we can't do. Um,
I think it would be nice.
I would love it.
I would love to see random from different seasons at an event or something where somebody brings somebody from a different look, bring
Why can't
back.
we have we can have some friends of? Why can't we
Yeah.
bring, we don't have to bring everybody back full time, but like you can definitely splash them in. That would be fantastic.
Yes. And then I think it'd be cool, like a little retrospect, literally all 20. I think how many ladies from Orange County? I think
There's seven, I
seven,
think.
17, 18 from like
Oh, you
total.
mean total?
Yes.
There's probably like 17 or 18, I think.
Yes, somewhere around there. But I think it would be great to see some
If
type.
there was 20 though, that would be even better, and you could really splash them all in. That would be so fucking iconic.
But could you imagine just having just even splashing them throughout that season of 20, like at an event, like the 100th housewife, Peggy Sue Lyon, walks in with, another friend because she's invited from Gina or whoever's back. We don't know.
Yes.
But I'm saying, like, it's like, and then you'll see Megan at something from Vicky brings her back because you know what I'm saying? Like just
Make it
something.
happen, James.
Well, I'm unfortunately on a different route right now.
You still know people that know people that know people. Give me their phone numbers. I'll call them.
Well, I'm sure it's
Um,
going to be an amazing season, whatever, if, it
no, I'm
starts.
sure I'm sure they'll do it up in style. It's a big deal. There wasn't really much anything else outside of that happened. So
There was only the two trips.
yeah, so not we still have the Amsterdam trip coming up. There's no
Yeah.
other trips, right? I don't think that
I
I
don't,
saw on the previews.
no, 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 no.
So James, thanks for being here. I know you are super busy. You're also in LA, so you are trying to fit it all in. So I appreciate it. Guys, reminder, if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit all the buttons that make the video do the thing. And then if you're listening to this on audio, make sure you rate me 5 stars because it does help the podcast. I truly appreciate it. Also, you can shop my merch. It's live, GeorgioTakanakis.com. Shop, get yourself something nice, get your friends something nice. We'll be back, I guess, in a couple weeks, James. See how it goes the next couple episodes, unless you think something explosive is going to happen this week that we need to jump on and gab.
The episode teaser for next week. I mean, we can talk. If you get a lot of questions, we can talk about it, or we can wait for the next two and see. I feel like the trip is coming. We can kind of recap a couple episodes together before the trip happens and then see where it goes from there. We can do that.
All right, guys. So until the next episode, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.
We need to talk about this. Talk about this.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast.
We need to talk about this.